You're listening to No Huddle Radio on the Packers Talk Radio Network, your home for in-depth and thoughtful Packers analysis. I'm your host, Gil Martin. My co-host is my good friend, Sean Tehan. In addition to this show, I write for the PackersPost.com and Cheesehead TV, and Sean was a TV sportscaster in Minnesota. We're here to talk Packers because you're all here for one thing, and that's a love for Green Bay football. Not a big game this week, right, Sean? Nothing at stake. Nothing unusual to see here.
Not that I'm aware of, yeah. And the Packers, unfortunately, they're on the road. But when they get back home, well, you should be calling Wisconsin's own Ticket King. They sponsor our show. They're a big reason why we're on these airwaves for more than 30 years. They've been providing Packers tickets to Packer fans, as well as Bucks, Brewers, and Summerfest tickets. Find them on the web at theticketking.com. That's theticketking.com, or visit their locations in Green Bay and Milwaukee. And if you're watching with us on YouTube today, thank you so much. You can see the link right there on your screen. It's pulled up right there, just making sure. And you can go to YouTube and watch every episode of No Huddle Radio on the Packers Talk Network. Go to YouTube, type Packers Talk Network in the search bar, click on PackersTalk.com link with the green background, the yellow goalpost, click on the bell, subscribe, turn the notifications on. Join the discussion, chat with Gil and us live, and we got a lot of great content on there, not just from Gil and myself, but from a lot of people within the Packers Talk Network. And we got a lot of feelings about the big game this weekend where it's not, I don't know if it's a revenge game, Gil. At least that's not what Aaron Rodgers is calling it. That's not what Matt LaFleur is calling it.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be on the same field as the Green Bay Packers again on Sunday. And I feel like it's kind of mixed feelings. I feel like more one way towards another, though. The burning question right away, Gil, where there was so much drama with Aaron Rodgers the last few years. He was in Green Bay, but it seemed like the split was pretty mutual for the most part. He was incredibly good to Jordan Love. He had a really good relationship, it appeared, with Matt LaFleur. Brian Gutekunst not necessarily, didn't appear like they had a good relationship on the way out or anything like that, but it seems like Aaron Rodgers has legit no ill will towards the Green Bay Packers organization, much against like how he feels against the New York Jets. But how should Packer fans feel about Aaron Rodgers when he takes the field on Sunday to face our beloved Packers?
You know, it's interesting. I think there are some similarities between what happened with Brett Favre at the end and what happened with Aaron Rodgers at the end, but there are also some important differences. Mm-hmm. And look, I was a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, and some of the things he said and did toward the end of his tenure in Green Bay did not sit very well with me. I still rooted for him. I still wanted him to do well, but I don't think the team needed an assistant general manager at that point, and he kind of tried to become one. But, you know, Rodgers said something that was interesting. He said in one of his press conferences that absence makes the heart grow fonder. Mm-hmm. And I think now that we are a few years separated from the divorce, for lack of a better way to put it, I think I can look back on Aaron Rodgers' tenure in Green Bay as very positive for the team, mm-hmm. very positive for him. It was time to move on, maybe even a year too late that they decided to move on. And I wish him luck, except this Sunday. That's basically, you know, how I feel. I think when Aaron Rodgers retires, he'll probably have his number retired by the Packers. He'll be in the Packers Hall of Fame. He'll certainly be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. I think it will be easier to mend fences with Aaron Rodgers than it was with Brett Favre. I
feel like fences have already kind of been mended with him.
Yeah.
It's like he's on, I don't know if he's on Pat McAfee anymore, but when he was at the Jets, he said on there a lot where it's like, yeah, I still root for the Packers. I still pull for the Packers as long as we're not playing them. And that's how it should be. And I feel like that's how it should be for fans right now, how they feel, the diehard Packer fans who feel that way, where I want Aaron Rodgers to do well, just not against my team.
Yep.
It's kind of like I went to the Milwaukee Bucks season opener on Wednesday, Gil. They faced the Washington Wizards. Chris Middleton is maybe the third greatest Buck of all time, maybe arguably the second greatest Buck of all time. He played for Washington last night back in Milwaukee for the first time since getting traded. Middleton had a great night on offense. He had 24 points, but the Bucks still won. And I left that game happy because
doubly happy.
Exactly. I left that game where it's like, Middleton had a really solid game. He had a Chris Middleton game, and my team still won the basketball game. That's how I want Sunday to go. I want Aaron Rodgers to ball out, but I want the Packers to come out on top. And that would be obviously ideal. But with Aaron Rodgers too, where obviously that final year was kind of rough. They went 8-9. They missed the playoffs on when they had an opportunity to get on the final game of the regular season at Lambeau Field against the Lions. And Aaron Rodgers, it's so weird, the similarities with him and Brett Favre, where Aaron Rodgers' last pass as a Packer was an interception. Brett Favre's pass as a Packer was also an interception. And then they both they both get traded to the New York Jets 15 years apart. Just weird. Who would have thought that would have happened? But Aaron Rodgers, though, is a big reason why a lot of people love football. Like a lot of people who are younger than us. Brett Favre was that to me. Aaron Rodgers that to a whole generation of people too. The guy was, and even Tom Brady said he was the best. In his prime, he was the best thrower of the football, and he's still in his 40s, a damn good thrower of the football. Yep. There's a lot of appreciation on my end for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, look, you break down what he brought to the table and his ability to read defenses, his ability to get the ball out quick, his arm strength, his intelligence. I mean, so many reasons to really love what he brought to the game. So, look, he's going down in history as one of the greatest Packers ever, one of the greatest players ever. I don't begrudge him any of that. I only don't want him to do well Sunday, when he's facing the Packers. And look, Matt LaFleur is saying all the right things. Jordan Love is saying all the right things. Aaron Rodgers is saying all the right things. But you can't tell me that this game doesn't mean a little extra for all of them.
And I feel like every NFL player, you try to find motivation however possible. I guarantee you, Jordan Love is kind of manifesting this too, where it's like, yeah, that guy, I used to back him up. I want to show him I'm better than him now.
Absolutely.
It goes both ways. Matt LaFleur, he's never won Coach of the Year. There are multiple times he probably should have won Coach of the Year in Green Bay, but it's always been, well, you were only a successful coach because of Aaron Rodgers. Matt LaFleur wants to be like, hey, I want to show Aaron Rodgers I can win without him too. It goes multiple ways for sure. But again, just a little trip down memory lane though, where Aaron Rodgers, the year they win the Super Bowl, he has that maybe the greatest game I've seen a quarterback play in a Packer uniform in Atlanta when they demolished the number 1 seeded Falcons en route to the Super Bowl. And he was just practically perfect that night. He threw 5 incompletions. He was insane. He was absolutely insane. And then he makes some incredible throws in the Super Bowl to help get them to a victory. And he wins Super Bowl MVP deservedly. The numerous Hail Marys, the throw and catch to Jared Cook in the 2016 divisional round in Dallas. Like, it just goes on and on and on too. And even now I've watched a few Steelers games, if they're not playing at the same time as the Packers, where the number one cardinal sin, I feel like, as a quarterback is throwing across your body into the middle of the field. Aaron Rodgers could still get away with that in his 40s. He did that against Cleveland a few weeks ago, and he threw a touchdown. It's a throw you're not supposed to make, but Aaron Rodgers is that guy who can still make that throw even at the end of his career too. So it's just absolutely masterful. And I'll say this too, Gil, where I don't know how you felt in 2005 when they drafted Rodgers. Young Sean was not happy when they drafted Aaron Rodgers. And then 2020 rolls around, and I wasn't thrilled about drafting Jordan Love, but I understood a little more. I like to think I was a little more mature. It's like, okay, I get it. Rodgers in his late 30s. We got to start planning for the future. But Aaron Rodgers, he's a guy who definitely he definitely shattered my expectations when he entered the league in 2005. And yeah, just a phenomenal talent. And yeah, I wish him nothing but the best outside of Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I want him to do well. I would love him to do well, facing Detroit and Minnesota and Chicago. Yeah. But, and you know what? It wouldn't bother me if the Packers win the game and Rodgers plays well. It wouldn't bother me.
Rodgers throws for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, but Love throws for 506 touchdowns. Hey, why not, right?
Well, Micah Parsons won't be too happy with that.
But no. But hey, if the Packers win the game, I think everyone will be
will be happy. Yes, absolutely. So I wish Aaron Rodgers all the best. I just don't want to see him do well this Sunday.
Yeah, me either. I want to get to 5-1-1 more than I want to see Aaron Rodgers get to 5-2, honestly.
Exactly.
So that's now let's go over the game coming up this weekend against those Pittsburgh Steelers. Packers injury report updated as of Thursday. Not practicing at all yet this week. That includes defensive end Lucas Van Ness and wide receiver Dontavian Wicks. Van Ness left that Cincinnati game a couple weeks ago with a foot injury, still has not returned to practice. Dontavian Wicks is dealing with that calf issue again that kind of lingered and hobbled him in training camp. He's dealing with that same injury right now in camp this week. Doesn't sound like he's going to play. Limited so far this week in some capacity includes Aaron Banks, Anthony Belton, Nate Hobbs, Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney, Brandon McManus, Zach Tom. There's supposed to be, if you're watching on YouTube, supposed to be a comma after McManus. It's not McManus Tom. That's not a player. That's not, Christian Watson still limited as he's returning from that ACL tear from January. Evan Williams and Devontae Wyatt. Very good news for Devontae Wyatt. He's practicing a little more and more. Brandon McManus did not practice on Wednesday, but he did return to practice in a limited fashion on Thursday. And then Banks, Belton, and Hobbs all were full participants on Thursday after they were limited on Wednesday. And then full participants so far this week for the Packers includes offensive lineman Jordan Morgan and linebacker Quay Walker. Morgan's dealing with a knee. Walker's dealing with a neck issue. But, those two guys are pretty critical right now. Jordan Morgan took all the snaps at right guard on Sunday. Quay Walker had an incredible game in Arizona on Sunday. Both very valuable pieces right now. Now let's get to the matchup, though. And let's start with the Steelers offense and the Packers defense. Obviously, the Steelers, they got number 8 at quarterback, formerly number 12 in Green Bay, and soon to be retired number 12 in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers. Packers defense, a bit of a frustrating performance against the Arizona Cardinals, against a backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett on Sunday. So far this year, Pittsburgh's offense, only 25th in total offense. Green Bay still 6th in total defense. Pittsburgh's offense, though, is tied for 11th in scoring. They're 19th in passing and 26th rushing. Green Bay's defense, 10th in scoring defense, 15th against the pass, 2nd against the run. Gil, a lot of information there, but what's a matchup that we should be looking forward to between the Pittsburgh offense and the Packers defense?
It's got to be, I got to start with the Packers pass rush. They've got to get some kind of pressure on Aaron Rodgers, not necessarily to sack him, but to get him off his game and not to give him time to look downfield and take his time and pick the defense apart. And I mean, this is a pretty solid offensive line for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've allowed, 9 sacks in 6 games. Mm-hmm. So, and we know how quickly Rodgers reads defenses. We know how quickly he can get the ball out. Yeah. And I'm going to ask you a flat-out question. What is the over-under for Micah Parsons being drawn offside by the hard count?
Oh, boy. You got to go 1.5, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because I feel like 1 is bound to happen. I don't think, it's like one. You fooled me once, shame on you. You fooled me twice, shame on me. So I think 1.5 is a solid over-under, Gil.
Yeah, I might go over on that at 1.5. He's been going offside once a game without Aaron Rodgers calling the signals. I'm concerned about Rodgers getting some free plays and doing some damage that way.
And you know that the guy, so there's not, the thing is, it's like Rodgers been separated from the Packers for 3 years now, essentially. Yep. It's been 3 years worth of teams. And Rashawn Gary, though, was a former teammate of his, as well as Devontae Wyatt for 1 year and Quay Walker for 1 year. But outside of that, really not a lot of connections on that defense. But Rashawn Gary, he's got to be vocal on that D-line saying, watch the ball. Do not listen. Turn the ears off. And that's how defensive linemen have to be all the time. You got to turn the ears off and just watch the football. That's all you got to do. But yeah, this is going to be a good matchup, though, between the Steelers O-line, though, and the Packers pass rush. I mean, Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary had that huge strip sack in that game against Arizona. He's up to 5.5 sacks on the year. Micah Parsons, his first career 3-sack game. You figured that was coming. It seemed like he was so close to getting so many sacks the last few weeks. He was due for that. The Packers pass rush came alive on Sunday. Really saved him in that game in Arizona with 6 sacks on defense. But yeah, that Steelers pass pro is pretty good, and Aaron Rodgers gets the ball out quickly. So Jeff Hafley better have a good plan, Gil.
He better. And, you talked about the injury report. Getting Devontae Wyatt back to put some pressure on up the middle could be huge for the Packers in this game.
Oh, it's massive. Just you got to have a reliable guy that's rushing from the inside. And I know they're trying to do it with Micah Parsons, where they're trying to get him favorable matchups on the inside too. But yeah, I mean, and I think you're going to see a lot of that too, especially in passing situations, Gil, where I think you're going to see Micah Parsons lined up in a stand-up position in the middle of the defense a lot, just to like let Aaron Rodgers know, like, hey, I'm here, I'm coming for you. You know,
Yep.
that's like I feel like that's going to be kind of an underrated factor.
It is. And look, you come up the middle, that's the shortest distance between 2 points, right? So a guy as quick as Micah Parsons, I love the way he just rushes low. He gets leverage by going small and fast. And it was great to see him last Sunday. Absolutely great.
He never stops, man. His motor's unbelievable. Like it's funny because, it's if you think about where these guys go so hard, but it's only for 4 or 5 seconds at a time. It's like 4 to 5 seconds at a time. And then you get like a 30-second break, essentially. But it's funny because it always looks like it's like, oh man, is he hurting? Is he tired? And then he just like gets back lined up and then he just goes again. And he just keeps coming. And it's awesome. That's what that's what you're paying for, That's essentially that's how you get a good return on your investment when a guy just doesn't stop. And he's clearly, I think the big thing about Micah Parsons too right now, where it's like, the guy knows his contract and what he's getting paid and what the Packers gave to get him. And he takes that very, very seriously. He could easily just be like, like my back's flaring up, I'm not going to play. Or like, I shouldn't be, I don't need to play this many snaps, So, but he just wants to keep playing. But Gil, obviously the matchup though I want to look forward to, it's between Rodgers and defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. It's going to be a chess match. Rodgers' IQ is so good. And I feel like Jordan Love, a big part of his growth and development has been also his ability to read defenses pre-snap and during plays and everything like that. And I feel like he took a lot from Rodgers. And now it's a matter, you wonder if Jeff Hafley's going to Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love being like, hey, what is Rodgers like? Like, what is he? What are some tendencies that we don't really see on film? It's easier said than done, but he's a tough guy to plan for.
He is, because he could beat you in so many ways. The arm strength is still there. He could beat you with, the Packers' defensive plan is always don't let them get any splash plays. Keep the passes in front of you, rally to the ball. They'll make a mistake or we'll get a sack or something will happen. Well, Aaron Rodgers is one of the quarterbacks who can beat you by throwing, 12 5-yard passes in a drive and moving the ball gradually down the field. So it is going to be a chess match and it is going to be a challenge. And I wonder, what conversations have been taking place this week between Matt LaFleur and Jeff Hafley as far as how do you plan for Aaron Rodgers?
It's going to be interesting, Gil. And Green Bay against opposing quarterbacks against their defense this year are averaging 5.8 yards per attempt. That's number one in the NFL. And opposing receivers are only averaging about 8.6 yards per reception. That's also number one in the NFL. While Pittsburgh, their receivers, they're only averaging about 10.7 yards per reception. That's like middle of the pack in the league. So Pittsburgh's not really an explosive offense, and that kind of plays into what the Packers like to do. The big thing I think will be is, and I think Jeff Hafley is going to be stressing that, where it's like, hey, they're going to get the ball quick. We got to rally to the football, and we cannot miss tackles this week. That's going to be the biggest factor on Sunday.
Going to be huge. And you can't let them do the splash play thing. No. And we've seen, I hate to mention DK Metcalf because Packer fans have bad memories of DK Metcalf, but can't let him beat you deep.
And it's funny because I feel like DK Metcalf, he may have had like 1 or 2 really good games against Green Bay, but outside of that, he, like with Seattle, he didn't really have his best moments against the Packers.
Not necessarily. I think one game, one big game.
Yeah, one big game, but outside of that, it's like he's been pretty quiet against the Packers, which unfortunately, in my mind, I think of like I go to, the worst possible outcome where it's like he's due. That's where I look at it.
Law of averages.
Yeah, it's law of averages, the universe balancing itself out. But let's switch sides of the balls for both teams. Let's go to the Packers offense versus the Steelers defense. This year, the Packers offense, well, they're 14th in total offense. Pittsburgh's defense is 28th in total defense. Green Bay's offense, 8th in scoring, 12th in passing, 15th in rushing. Kind of went down after last week, having a limited Josh Jacobs. Hopefully his calf is feeling better and feeling okay enough to play on Sunday. He proved on Sunday in Arizona how important he is to this football team. Pittsburgh's defense tied for 18th in scoring, 31st against the pass, 17th against the run. Gil, this is a defensive unit in Pittsburgh that thrives off of taking the football away because they give up a lot of yards, but they don't give up as many points as they probably should, but they thrive on taking the football away. What's going to be the most important matchup maybe between the Packers offense and the Steelers defense?
Well, you got to protect Jordan Love. I think that has to come first. And you have TJ Watt. It is not an easy matchup because, everybody talks about TJ Watt and he's really good, but Nick Herbig is actually leading the Steelers in sacks.
Another former Badger. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to be aware of both of those guys. And we know the Packers offensive line has been dealing with injuries. Zach Tom has not been 100%. Rasheed Walker has been inconsistent this year. We've had Aaron Banks banged up. You've got to give Jordan Love. Jordan Love likes to go downfield. Mm-hmm. He needs time to be able to do that. And that matchup between the Packers O-line and the Steelers pass rush is critical if Green Bay is going to do what they want to do in this game.
Yeah, Nick Herbig has been the beneficiary of teams putting all their attention towards TJ Watt. It's crazy because Herbig leads the Steelers in sacks and tackles for loss. Watt is just behind, but Watt is second on the team. TJ Watt is second on the team in pass deflections behind Jalen Ramsey. He also has an interception this year. So TJ Watt's the game wrecker for the Steelers. Everyone knows who he is, and for good reason. He is that good. The Packers, they've seen their fair share of solid edge rushers so far this season. Now, Myles Garrett was the one who really was the only guy who completely ruined the game for the Packers offense this year back in week 3 in Cleveland, which I'm glad they had that experience now because I feel like Matt LaFleur and the Packers learned from that where it's like, hey, we got to have a better plan when it comes to facing a dominant guy like that. And I feel like they're going to be have a better plan in place to go against a guy like TJ Watt. And they had a really good plan against Josh Sweat in Arizona last week, and they neutralized him very well. That's the one guy who could have really done a lot of damage on Arizona's defense last week, and he was held in check for the most part. Now, Green Bay's offensive line, they're not too bad either in terms of pass protection. They're only allowing 10 sacks this year. That's tied for 7th in the NFL. And Pittsburgh, even though they give up a lot of passing yards, again, second worst pass defense in terms of yardage, they get to the quarterback a lot. 22 sacks this year. That's 5th most in the NFL. You gotta find a way to neutralize TJ Watt and do your best to make sure that he doesn't ruin this game for you.
Absolutely. So let's hope that the pass rush can hold, the offensive line can hold off the pass rush. And then I hate to go back to this, but Matt LaFleur's play calling has got to be very smart in this game. And we all know fans have not always been thrilled with the play calling of Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how much trust really he puts into Jordan Love. I hope where that 4th down play call to move the sticks late against Arizona on Sunday, which eventually end up becoming the game-winning drive for the Packers on Sunday in Arizona. I hope Love and LaFleur, I hope that changed something on the offense because it just seems like they're kind of stuck in mud, but it seemed like they finally figured out on that 4th down where it's like LaFleur said essentially right there, I can trust Jordan Love. I can trust Jordan Love in a big situation, and I can trust him to carry us when we need a big throw or we need a big play. And that's something I'm looking forward to too. It's like, how do the Packers on the passing offense build off of that with Jordan Love and then facing against a Steelers pass defense that is not very good statistically, but they still got Jalen Ramsey on one side of the field, and he's still playing good football. This is the oldest defense in football, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure oldest average age football team in general. They got a lot of old guys on that defense. Do the Packers go at Jalen Ramsey? Do they stay away from him? I'm very curious to see what the game plan looks like on Sunday.
Yeah, and then how do you mix all of that in? Yeah. Will we have Christian Watson? He wants to play. Will they let him go? The turf in Pittsburgh is notoriously iffy, to be nice. And, maybe they're better off waiting another week on that, which is this is it. Either he plays next week or he's done for the year. So that'll be interesting. But then I think they've got to make some more They've got to establish the run and the short passing game to set up the long passing game, even though typically LaFleur and Love like to do it the other way around.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, the Packers, it's interesting where a question came up, I feel like, amongst fans this week where it's like, should Matt LaFleur give him play calling duties? I don't think so.
No.
Mike McCarthy did that, tried that a few times during his tenure in Green Bay, and then he just ended up calling plays later again. So I don't think that's a solution. But, I mean, Green Bay, Jordan Love's averaging 8.2 yards per attempt this year. That's fourth in the NFL. He has a 108.1 pass rating. That's fifth best in the NFL. The receivers are averaging 11.8 yards per reception. That's tied for second best in the league right now. So they're getting the explosive plays. It doesn't seem like it, but they are, and they could really do that. I feel like the explosive plays could really come in bunches coming up on Sunday against an older secondary that, like Pittsburgh has right now.
If you have time to throw.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to have time to throw. But I agree with you. The short pass game, I feel like they need to get that more involved for sure. Just to keep moving, just grind away, chip away, and really just work so much clock and make sure the offense stays on the field and you keep the defense off the field against this team.
Yeah, if they can do that, they have a much better chance of winning, no doubt.
And let's go over some stats and figures real quick going into Sunday's game. Turnover ratio this year, the Packers are at dead even 0. They've given the ball away 3 times. They've taken the ball away 3 times. Steelers, we mentioned it. They love to take the football away. They are +5 this year. 10 takeaways this season for the Steelers defense. They're one of 7 teams in the NFL with at least 10 takeaways. They have 5 giveaways, so they're at a +5. Total penalties, Green Bay, 9th most penalized team in football right now. And remember, they've probably played 1 fewer game than many other teams this year. So the penalties are still an issue. They're a massive issue on Sunday. And then Pittsburgh, they're the 2nd least penalized team in football right now. Third downs, Green Bay's offense, still the number 1 team on third down on offense, even though it was pretty ugly in Arizona on Sunday. Defensively, they're 12th on third down. Third down was brutal in Arizona on Sunday for the offense and the defense for the Packers. Pittsburgh offensively, 8th on third down percentage. Aaron Rodgers probably a big part of that. That's why that number's pretty good on their end. And then defensively, they are 25th in third downs. And then red zone touchdown percentage. Green Bay's offense, 5th best red zone touchdown percentage in the football, 19th on defense. Pittsburgh's offense, they are 4th in red zone touchdown percentage. Their defense, 5th in red zone TD percentage. That's I feel like that's Mike Tomlin written all over it, where bend, don't break, score when you're on offense, when you're down there. Don't let them get in the end zone when you're on defense. That's why Mike Tomlin, all that guy does is win every year in Pittsburgh. And then the Steelers injury report so far this week. Few DNPs this week include, for veteran rest, TJ Watt and Cameron Hayward. Watt returned to practice on Thursday in a limited fashion. We're going to see him play. Center Zach Frazier was limited on Wednesday and then did not practice on Thursday with a calf issue. So that's an interesting situation with Devontae Wyatt possibly coming back. Pittsburgh may be down an interior offensive lineman. That could be a huge, huge factor coming up. And then full participants this week include wide receiver Calvin Austin III, linebacker Malik Harrison, and quarterback Will Howard. On the IR for the Steelers includes defensive tackle Isaiah Loudermilk, old friend defensive tackle Dean Lowry, tight end Donald Parham Jr., offensive guard and Green Bay native Max Sharping, and quarterback Skylar Thompson. Then also Loudermilk was a former Wisconsin Badger Gill. So, yeah, a lot of Wisconsin ties on this Pittsburgh team. They also have Keanu Benton and Nick Herbig and, of course, TJ Watt. So, a lot of Wisconsin blood in Pittsburgh right now.
This is a fun matchup all the way around. This is just going to be fun.
You got to think there's got to be some split jerseys coming up in Pittsburgh on Sunday, right? Like whether it's Badgers, Pittsburgh or Green Bay, I don't know.
Or maybe just people wearing their, Aaron Rodgers Packers jersey to confuse everybody.
That very well could be the case too. So, Gil, why does Green Bay win on Sunday?
Green Bay wins if here's how Green Bay wins. If they have more splash plays than the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to win this football game. And it's going to be interesting to see which team is able to produce more of those plays.
If the defense can continue the sack fest that they had in Arizona on Sunday, that's going to be massive. They can get to Aaron Rodgers quite a bit and dial up that pressure, especially with Devontae Wyatt come back. That's huge. And also, don't play into Pittsburgh's hands. Take care of the football. That is the biggest factor. You saw what Cincinnati did with Joe Flacco about a week ago. They took care of the football, and they dropped 34 on the Steelers. And that's going to be a massive factor, too. Why does Green Bay lose?
Green Bay loses if Aaron Rodgers is very inspired and plays, an outstanding game, and if they lose the turnover battle.
Yeah, you echoed what I was just going to say. Yeah, you lose the turnover battle, and Aaron Rodgers has that special game in prime time that we've seen so many times him do in a Packer uniform. And if he does the same things in a Pittsburgh uniform, it's going to be a long night for Green Bay. What's your prediction for Sunday, Gil?
I have picked the Packers every week this year so far, but the streak ends today. I just think Rodgers will rise to the occasion. Pittsburgh 30, Green Bay 24.
And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you may be watching, you may note that my name or Gil's name isn't on that prediction because, Gil, I literally had the same prediction as you.
Wow.
I had the Steelers win 30-24 over the Packers as well. I swear, I typed it in well before you gave me your prediction.
I believe it.
Hours before, because it feels like Pittsburgh's going to win this game, right?
It kind of does, in my mind, because it's in Pittsburgh partially, but here's the other thing. Why are we being silly and foolish and not giving the Packers 27? That's their magic number this year.
Because they win when they score 27.
That's right.
They're not going to win. If they score 27, they'll win, but we don't think they're going to win. So we're going to put them at 24. It's as simple as that. It's 1 and 1 equals 2, Gil. That's like
okay. All right. As long as you explained it to me, that's good.
Yeah, I just think, too, also Pittsburgh having like a mini bye going into this game, and they're an older team. I think that's going to be a huge factor for them outside of being at home as well. And it just seems like these night games on Sunday Night Football, it tends to, when you have a lot of these headlines, it tends to go the home team's way. And also Sean Hockley is the official for Sunday, and that guy just likes to hear himself talk. Expect a flag fest coming up on Sunday. And Aaron Rodgers is so good at drawing so many penalties he has for years. Just expect the Packers to get screwed by a few calls. And
let's face it, the Packers are a flag fest almost every week anyway. So, there's that, unfortunately.
Just call the holds on Micah Parsons, please. I'm glad he finally drew one in Arizona on Sunday.
Yes.
Because it's like maybe Sean Hockley may be keeping an eye on that. I don't know. I hope so. We'll see what happens. Let's hope we're both wrong, Gil. The Packers prove us wrong. We're doing great. But I just feel like Pittsburgh's going to win, like you. What articles, Gil, you got coming up at Packers Post at Cheesehead TV? I got to take a few trips down memory lane, right?
Yeah, well, for the Packers Post, I discussed, the build up to this revenge game and how all three parties are kind of handling this. Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur. So kind of broke that down. And over on Cheesehead TV, I took a look back at some of the bigger revenge games against former quarterbacks that the Packers have had since the merger in 1970. Some fun ones, but some not so fun ones in there as well.
I'm not going to be as angry watching this as I was when Brett Favre played the Packers in a Vikings uniform. It's just not going to feel that way, but it's going to be weird. It will be weird, but yeah, go Pack, go. You ready for some trivia?
I am ready for the trivia.
All right. Well, Packers kicker and near substitute teacher Lucas Havrisik has been nothing but money in place of the injured Brandon McManus. Big reason for the win on Sunday was because of Havrisik. Of course, Packer fans know who he is now after he cemented himself in Packer history with a now franchise record 61-yard field goal in Sunday's win over the Cardinals. It's the first 60-plus yard field goal make in Packers history. Now, Gil, which 6 Packers are atop the leaderboard for longest field goals in franchise history? Which 6 individuals could say, hey, I'm one of the top 6 guys who has one of the longest field goals in Packers history?
All right, Mason Crosby held the previous record. So, and you're saying 6 different players? It's not...
No, including Havrisik, too.
Right. Okay.
But different players, including Lucas Havrisik.
Right. So if Mason Crosby is also third on the list...
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So
6 individuals. Yeah.
6 individuals. So I got to go Havrisik. I got to go Crosby. Ryan Longwell's got to be on that list. I'm going to say that Jan Stenerud is on that list.
Just on the outside.
I know he had some longer.
Yeah. I'll reveal in a sec, but keep going, please.
Okay. 2
of the kickers are on the Packers roster right now.
On the Packers roster right now? Okay, well McManus then, obviously.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I think in your brain you thought that you said that.
Yeah, I think I did. I think Chris Jackie is probably on the list.
That's 5.
Chester Markle.
Chester Markle's a great guess, but no, he's just on the outside too. This is a tough one. I'll give you the year, 2006.
2006.
This is his 15-minute moment. It really was.
Yeah, that's 2006.
I had to look deep into this, Gil. This was a hard one.
Oh, yeah, I know. Dave Raymer.
Yep. Dave freaking Rayner. Yeah, so the top 6 individuals, Lucas Havlicek, Mason Crosby, Brandon McManus, Dave Rayner, Ryan Longwell, and Chris Jackie. Crosby had a boatload of kicking records to the Packers before Havlicek's big kick in the desert on Sunday. Crosby made 1 field goal from 58, 3 from 57, 4 from 56, and 1 from 55. McManus had a 55-yard field goal last year against the Bears in Green Bay, followed by 54-yard field goals by Dave Rayner against the Eagles in 2006, a game that was super ugly. That was a bad season for the Packers. Ryan Longwell against the Titans in 2001, and then Chris Jackie against the Lions in 1993 all had 54-yard field goals. So kind of a weirdly worded question, but I'm glad we navigated through that properly.
And indeed we did. So that was very good. And you do a good job with the questions, I have to say.
I got to think of new stuff because I know that last time the Packers played the Steelers was a couple of years ago, and I talked about the Packers haven't won in Pittsburgh since 1970. And yeah. I couldn't go back to that. So I was like, I got to think of something new. So it's like kicker stuff. Everyone loves kicker trivia, right?
Yeah. 1970 was what? Terry Bradshaw's rookie year. And I don't think he started that game, if I recall correctly. But yeah.
Was that when the Duck Dynasty guy? No, Duck Dynasty guy played at Louisiana Tech with Terry Bradshaw. Bill Robertson. He never played in the NFL. So
no.
I can't remember who the quarterback in 1970 was for the Steelers. I was not around then. So
I was very, very young. I don't remember the game, but I believe that Terry Hanratty either started or certainly played in that game.
Oh, I think Hanratty. Any relation to Carl Hanratty of the FBI of Catch Me If You Can?
Not that I'm aware
Kyle
of.
Hanratty. Kyle Hanratty.
He's a Notre Damer, so there you go.
There you go. He's a Golden Domer. All right.
Golden Domer.
Packers, Steelers. The Packers 4-1-1, looking to get to 5-1-1. Play the Steelers at 4-2, hoping they don't get to 5-2 this weekend. Sunday Night Football, 7:20 p.m. Central Time. I think that's going to be the highest rated game coming up of the season so far. It has to be, right? So
you would think
it's gonna be a big watch, and hopefully Green Bay can get their first win in Pittsburgh in more than 50 years. That would be awesome, and we'll see what this Packers team is made of going against the old leader, the old captain. So we'll see what happens, Gil.
It's going to be a fun ride, no question about that. Well, that's it for today. We'll be right back here next week. Follow us on Twitter at @GoPackers and at GBPackers. Stay up to date on all these Packers, or to ask us questions, or you can email us at gbpackerssean@gmail.com. Make sure you're subscribed to Packers Talk on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, here on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Big thanks to PackersTalk.com for powering our show. Thank you for listening. Till next time, go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.